saha no bhunaktu, saha viryam karavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May Brahman protect us. May he guide us and give us strength and right understanding. May love and harmony be with us all. Peace, peace, peace. And good evening.
Yes.
And we are reading from the complete works of Swami Abhedananda. We are in a chapter called God, Our Eternal Mother.
And I'd like to mention that Swami Abhedananda was one of 16 disciples, direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. And so recent that people that we've seen saw him. And he stayed in the United States till about 1920, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Having lived here for some 25 years, or 20, 25 years.
All right, I think we ended here.
Alrighty, I wondered how we could do that. Would you like to start us off?
Sure. I'll start back just a little bit in the paragraph so we get a sense where we were. I'll start at the top of the page. The eternal energy, with a capital E, is not an unintelligent energy, but is intelligent. Whenever we cast our eyes either in the external or internal world, we find the expression not of a fortuitous or accidental combination of matter and mechanical forces, but of regular laws guided by definite purpose. This universe is not a chaos, but a cosmos, and one harmonious whole. It is not an aimless chain of changes, which we call evolution, but there is an orderly hidden purpose at every step of evolution. Therefore, that energy is intelligent. We may call this self-existent, intelligent, eternal, cosmic energy the mother of the universe. She is the source of infinite forces and infinite phenomena. This eternal energy is called in Sanskrit Prakriti, in Latin Creatrix, the creative power of the universe. Thou art the power of Prakriti, or the divine energy of the Supreme Being. Of thee is born everything of the universe. Therefore, thou art the mother of the universe. That was a quote, but it doesn't say from where.
Oh, it's, I think, the translation of the Sanskrit.
Yes, but it doesn't say where.
No,
where
that's true.
Coming from. No. Okay. As all the forces of nature are but the manifestations of this divine energy, so she, with a capital S, is called all-powerful. Wherever there is the expression of any force or power in the universe, there is the manifestation of the eternal Prakriti, or the Divine Mother. It is more appropriate to call that energy mother than father, because, like a mother, that energy holds within her the germ of the phenomenal universe before evolution, develops and sustains it, projects it on space, and preserves it when it is born. She is the mother of the Trinity, creator, preserver, and destroyer. She is the source of all activities. She is the Shakti, that is, force in action. A creator, when deprived of his creative power, is no longer the creator. As the creative power is one of the expressions of that eternal energy, so the creator is looked upon by the Hindus as the child of the universal Divine Mother. So are the preserver and the destroyer. Thus the Hindus have understood this eternal energy as the mother of the universe, and have worshipped her from prehistoric times. Here you must remember that this divine energy is not the same as the powerless and passive nature, the Jadad Prakriti, which was rejected and ignored by the Hebrews and the Christians. You must not mistake the worship of the Divine Mother for nature worship. In the Rig Veda we read, quote, the Divine Mother says, quote within a quote, I am the Queen of the universe, the giver of all wealth and fruits of work. I am intelligent and omniscient. Although I am one, by my powers I appear as manifold. I cause war for protecting men. I kill the enemy and bring peace on earth. I stretch out heaven and earth. I have produced the Father. As the wind blows by itself, so I produce all phenomena by my own will. I am independent and responsible to none. I am beyond the sky, beyond the earth.
This earth.
This earth. My glory is the phenomenal universe. Such am I by my power. And that was from the Rig Veda, chapter 125.
10. Chapter 10.
10, chapter 10, verse 125. Got it. Thus, the Divine Mother is described as all in all. That was the end of both the quote within the quote and the quote. Thus, the Divine Mother is described as all in all. We live and move and have our being in that Divine Mother, who cannot live for a moment if that eternal energy ceases to manifest. All our mental and physical activities depend on her. She is doing whatever she chooses to do. She is independent. She obeys none. She is producer of every event that occurs in the universe. She makes one appear good, spiritual, and divine, while it is she who makes another appear as wicked and sinful. Footnote. The Hindu deity Kali is conceived with 4 hands. In 2 hands, there are the Abhaya Mudra and the Kripana sword, which means that she has given protection to her devotees by one hand and punishes the wicked by the other. It is through her power we perform virtuous deeds or commit sinful acts. But she is beyond good and evil, beyond virtue and vice. Her forces are neither good nor evil, but they appear so to us when we look at them from different standpoints and compare them with one another.
Well, that's something.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, I find that these scriptures, defining, I guess, scripture by the writings of an illumined soul, and perhaps we would have to qualify that by saying the writings of inspiration as in illumination, implying that in some cases writers could write when the light wasn't on, and leading to what Sri Ramakrishna said, the scriptures were a mixture of sand and sugar. So that might explain, from the mystical point of view, why one's own local scriptures, perhaps, have things in them which are just obviously the result of inspiration at the time of writing, I would suggest. That's what I think, at the time of writing. Whereas by the same hand and pen, in the Bibles that we have, the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament, it's quite possible that there was not that inspiration, meaning, as it were, that the writer was the hand of God writing. Don't you see that it was God in the writer in a state of illumination, inspiration? And that would explain a good deal of the part of the scriptures, and they may exist also in other scriptural works that are perhaps close to us geographically, we might not know so well. Perhaps the Quran might come to mind, that deal with more secular states of consciousness. Now then, in the same case of a man like Swami Abhedananda, one of 16 direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, of whom it is inferred by the founding Swami of this center, for example, himself illumined, that they had already achieved, all 16, the highest state of nirvikalpa samadhi, which is union with the Absolute. So, I would say that every page or two of these scriptures, to me, like a volume. And what you just read, starting there as you were wise to do, and to do, speaks of the eternal energy. And for the first time, it's reached me, Swami, that the Indian scriptures, though we don't have a footnote for that particular one, speaking of capital E energy, that is E equals MC squared, identifies that with Mother, that very energy. And that energy, which has dissolved the world of matter onto itself, such that even icebergs are just congealed water, so what we think of as matter still sometimes is not anything but energy, according to Einstein. So now we take the next step. That is the energy they're speaking of. As far as I can see, it's ineluctable. That is the E and equal and the universe, the energy, which is relational rather than so rigidly and objectively causal, making the universe now, the scientists see it clearly, that's to say the astrophysicists, a universe of relations rather than of objects. Therefore, Brother Leibniz and Brother Isaac Newton need to be cautiously relegated or cataloged or confined to a previous history of the human understanding in which to see the universe still as a machine is disastrous. It's disastrous. And among other things, it leads rather quickly to the objectifying, say, of the outside world, to a subject-object dualism in nature, which or in the world, which led Descartes to think that dogs had no feelings, and everything outside of a human being was non-anything.
Yes, clearly he didn't have pets.
Yeah, particularly a pet like an orangutan or something. So this is all powerful stuff. And the ultimate thing here, if one is willing to go along with the premise that the energy, capital E, of which is spoken here, is Einstein's E equals mc squared, of a much more organic universe, much more like a living organism, which itself is relational energy flows. And then Whitehead's capstone of Western philosophy before the great synthesis devolved into, the divinity school that John Cobb and several of us went to. He got his PhD from a grand disciple of Whitehead named Charles Hartshorne. He says it's merely a place of the study of the history of religions now. Mm. So metaphysics has been thrown out of the philosophy departments in favor of something that, frankly, I am not up on. I have ways of describing it, which some of our one illustrious Swami might wish me to review, but they're not very pleasing terms of the Wittgensteinian replacement of metaphysical problems of origin, destiny of the universe, and being, and all of these things, or discusses solutions, by something which says very much like Kant, that yes, the big questions exist, says Wittgenstein, kind of a philologist, but we cannot perceive it or them. Yet he says, and my roommate who went into that whole current episode of thinking, Bob Coburn, he professed to being surprised, had not heard what I believe I have heard and read, whatever, that Wittgenstein himself said that love is an avenue, you see, of knowledge. Well, in the Indian thinking, the three knots of the knowledge process of the objective outside world, the knower, the known, and the process of knowledge, they're all resolved. Kant said they couldn't be, at least not by pure reason. And Vedanta says, no. You can know the essence of the chair, though Kant says all you can see is a reflection in your eyes, which is really in the back of your head, not to do much with the chair. Thing in itself can't be known. Then no. All these things can be known through that grand cascading wave of superconsciousness, which the West really has not gone into. Mystics have, but the West philosophy has not. They have 3 stages of consciousness, which we read with Swami Abhedananda in earlier days: waking, dreaming, and dream sleep. That's it. So here with this conscious waterfall, this superconscious, all of these knots are cut asunder, and the knower, the entity perceived as the Atman, subjectively, if you will, becomes united, as it always is anyway, relationally, through energy flows, the way a plant is, united with the chair and with everything, with Brahman. So what we have here in a page and a half or two is a huge compendium, really, of the present-day standing of Western thinking, in which our beloved Swami Abhedananda said in Oregon one time, the scientists are our friends, the theologians are not our friends. That means the dualistic subject-object people, materialists really. The scientists are our friends. So I find this pretty powerful stuff. He's saying that the Indian view of energy, in which Whitehead said an electron said to the effect of an electron is a drop of experience, meaning that energy seen from inside is consciousness, is experience. And those qualities are given to Mother. And when it says here that she says that or more appropriate, he says to call that energy Mother than Father. Now, that's Abhedananda speaking, meaning that even the Father-God concept, a personal God, is a creation, if you will, of the manifestation of the play, the Leela of the one divinity, and comes into the picture in Act 1, Scene 2.
Yeah.
And of course, that is just more than interesting. Genesis having 2 creation stories, but both of them very internal. And all of a sudden, in a page and a half or 2, I think we have a volume. I really do, Swami. So let's just see where we go from here. Please have me help me here.
Next page.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I'm trying to reach.
Yeah.
Down here. Okay. So this divine energy that we're speaking of, the energy that we see in the expanded concept of the cosmos, moves out in breadth and depth, is not an objective thing. This is capital E energy. It is our very essence of consciousness. And it's manifested, how shall we say it, it's personified in the concept of the immanent aspect of God or Mother. She expresses herself in 2 sets of opposite forces, says Brother Abhedananda. The one set has the tendency toward God. This is very important. And is called Vidya, V-I-D-Y-A in Sanskrit. And friends, Vivekananda used to say that unity, which scientists are searching and everyone's searching, it brings joy. So I get a great kick out of the fact that you have this great tree with a big trunk and lateral branches. The trunk is the tree of language. And what is language? Is it just vocal? It certainly precedes writing. But I've decided in recent times that language is also artistic. That is to say, Neanderthal man 60,000 years ago, painting pictures, pretty good pictures. of animals in the caves. 30,000 years ago, you might call Neanderthal men Homo sapiens neanderthalensis, and then Homo sapiens sapiens, us 30,000 years ago, pictures of magnificent artistic quality, museum of art. And these predated writing by, when are you going to get us a Sumer maybe with the cuneiform? But writing has not been around that long. 3000 BC, I don't think we had anything like writing. So the first language could be emotive, could be painting. It is. Way before words, you have the physical manifestation of ideas in painting, way before written words. So we got a lot going on here. And this energy then is mother, personified as mother. So the Vidya part, the part that brings joy, is that one of the branches, lateral branch, one of the families of languages of humanity is the Indo-European branch. And Sanskrit is one of the branches of that, as is, I like to say, Latin and Greek and English and all. And Vidya is the same root, practically the same word, as video, V-I-D-E-O, in Latin, I see. And I like to point out for fun, in American English, video, TV. So I think that in our way of looking at the world, that is to say, the people that have been speaking and imbibing the Indo-European manifestation and way of speaking, this is terribly important. The one set, Vedanta says, has a tendency toward God and is called Vidya, insight. And the other towards worldliness and is called avidya, a veil, which is not considered reality in this description, cast over the scene, making of the one unity a seeming duality, which it is not, the one and the many. The many is not real, not true. So here we go. The one is not, the one leads to freedom and happiness. We have to remember that Maya, that the consciousness of God, that's expressed in energy, which is consciousness, which is experience, is seeking to lead us to God, freedom and happiness, and the other to bondage and suffering. There it is, as simple as that. The one is knowledge, meaning direct experience. And incidentally, in philosophical circles, direct experience is, the word for that is aesthetic. Isn't that fun? Beauty. Meaning immediately, directly experienced, rather than logically constructed or whatever, the left hemisphere. The one is knowledge, the other is ignorance. The one is light, which is Brahmananda's delineation of jnana, of the jnani experience. It is light. And the path of love is love. So love and light. The one is light, the other is darkness. Each individual soul is the center where these opposite forces, dynamics, if you will, seeming dynamics, are constantly working and fighting with one another. This is really powerful stuff. Oh my God, how dense. Every time we come, I think this has got to be it. This is so dense, it's like gold or something, very heavy. All right, each individual, when Vidya, that's the good stuff, or the powers which lead Godward predominate, we advance toward God and become, look at this, the results, religious, spiritual, and unselfish. But when it's opposite, the appearance, don't you see? Not the reality. The avidya, a incidentally means not, like atypical, same thing, from the Indo-European through Greek and Latin. The avidya power prevails when the opposite, the avidya power, just have a second, I'm sure that's right. I would just like to convince myself of that for a moment. All right. When the opposite, the avidya power prevails, we become worldly, selfish, and wicked. When the former is predominant, the latter is overcome, comma, and vice versa. Now, Swami put that in italics, which you're supposed to do if you use words from another language. We've adopted it into English from Latin, but these powers exist in each individual, though they vary in the degree of their strength in each. So Jesus says, you cannot serve both God and mammon. Now this is a big subject, which is what America has to learn. And this is why we have a lot of the problems that are surfacing every so often that we can't quite seem to eradicate from the American personality as much as we may will it. There are things that occasionally come up from the surface. And white supremacy, or as I like to think, that's a more important word to me, that false concept is one of them. And so the problem is, don't you see the pursuit of happiness? When we don't understand that happy equals God, we're off to the wrong road right from the start. And we cannot deny that India is bringing us something of infinite, pearl without price, infinite preciousness. And that is the concept of God country streaming down the waterfall of superconsciousness, our real selves, our real goal, and the means of reaching it, the road. The man or woman in whom Godward leading powers prevail is called devotional, prayerful, righteous, pure in heart. And our beloved Kierkegaard said, purity of heart is to will one thing. Vivekananda said, if you lost your scriptures, if you lost your New Testament, or the whole religions of all the scriptures of the world, and you had that one phrase left, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Pure in heart shall will one thing, to see the reality instead of the appearance. So there you go. And unselfish. These qualities, meaning that one really sees the self in the other person. How are you going to be unselfish about somebody you feel nothing for? A rock. I mean, a person, rocks. But how are you going to be unselfish? You're going to take yourself out of your shoes or something? You become unselfish by feeling, by becoming bigger, if you will, the concept of your inner being. To include your brother and your sister and say, my goodness, they have the same inner consciousness of energy, capital E, God, latent and with hints that I aspire to. Therefore, Jesus says a couple of things. He said, Deuteronomy, remember, love the Lord thy God with all thy mind, soul, heart, and spirit, whatever. And then he said, and thy neighbor as thyself. And interestingly enough, you could say that was another commandment put on Thursday night, which is terribly important to the experiential Christians, terribly important to the people that want to feel something in their hearts as mystics. When Jesus washed the feet of his disciples and said, a new commandment I give unto you, that ye shall love one another even as I have loved you. This is powerful stuff. All right, we're almost home with this now. The easiest way, he's saying, is Abhedananda, who stayed with us for 25 years. The easiest way to attain these powers is by the worship of Vidya Shakti, knowledge, energy. I see I see Video energy, which from the inside is experienced, or that aspect of the Divine Mother, which represents all powers that lead to spiritual perfection. Now, right there, I'm going to have to put down the book, because he's taken me to the top of a hill. I love to say, as we drive up the mountains, there are these little viewpoints. You know, you get out and just turn up. And from the east side of the Sierras, you can see hundreds of miles to the sweep of the plain of the rest of the great United States. All yours, Swami.
Okay, I'm going to go back just a couple of
Anything,
sentences.
because it's so powerful, really.
These qualities are the expressions of Vidya, powers within us. Such higher powers are latest. I suppose it's supposed to be latent.
Yes, I don't see it.
Up here.
Okay, there they are. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, thank you very much.
I think that's supposed to be latent.
It is latent. I have latent.
I have latest.
Okay, I tell you, amazing. L-A-T-E-N-T in this particular sentence.
In all and
Yes, 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 I see. I see.
Yeah.
Yes, you got it.
in all and even in those who do not show such qualities. All persons can rouse their latent powers by practicing devotion, prayer, righteousness, purity, and unselfishness. The easiest way to attain these powers is by the worship of Vidya Shakti, or that aspect of the Divine Mother which represents all powers that lead to spiritual perfection. By worship or devotion, we mean constant remembrance of that aspect. If we constantly think of the source of all spirituality and of all the higher powers which make one spiritual, surely those powers will be aroused in us, and we shall become spiritual, righteous, and unselfish. Therefore, the Hindus worship this Vidya Shakti. When they worship that aspect, they do not deny or ignore the opposite aspect, which leads to worldliness, but they make it subordinate to the higher Vidya aspect. Sometimes they think of these opposite forces separately, personify them, and make them the female attendants of the Divine Mother. The Divine Mother has many attendants. All the evil forces of nature are her attendants. She stands in the center of the universe, radiant and in her own glory, like the sun, when surrounded on all sides by thick, dark clouds. Whenever there is any...
Well, now you got a footnote there, buddy.
Yes, it just says consult Kali the
I
Mother.
know,
It's
but
just
there, what
referring...
is Kali the Mother? I don't know it. It
Well,
must
that's a
be
poem by Swami.
Oh, the poem.
Yeah,
Okay,
by
gotcha.
Swami
Very good.
Vivekananda.
All right. Mhm.
Whenever there is any expression of extraordinary righteousness and spirituality, there is a special manifestation of the Divine Mother. There is her incarnation. The Divine Mother incarnates sometimes in the form of a man and sometimes in the form of a woman. And here it says, consult the song of Kamalakanta, which, and the quote is, "You do not know that the primal cause and Divine Mother, Shyamama, is not only a woman," etc.
Isn't the first name of our vice president to be Kamala?
Yes,
And her second name is Devi.
yes.
So Kamala means lotus, I think. And Devi is bright shining one.
Yeah. Anyway, sometimes comes in the form of a woman to establish order and righteousness. All men and women are her children, but there is something more in woman. A woman represents motherhood on earth, so all women, whether married or unmarried, are representatives of that almighty Divine Mother of the universe. It is that for that reason women are so highly revered and honored by the Hindus. There is no country in the world except India where God, the Supreme Being, is worshipped from time immemorial as the Divine Mother of the universe. India is the only country where the earthly mother is looked upon as living deity, and where a man learns in his childhood, quote, "One mother is greater than 1,000 fathers," unquote. You have heard many stories regarding the condition of women in India. Most of these are grossly exaggerated, some are utterly false, and some are partly true. The familiar American story of Hindu mothers throwing their babes into the Ganges to become food for crocodiles is unknown among the Hindus. In the first place, crocodiles do not live in a strong current like that of the Ganges. I have traveled the length of this mighty river from its mouth to its source, some 1,500 miles, but never saw any such acts. These statements are heard by me for the first time after coming to America, though tales and pictures to this effect have been quite common in this country in books for the young. This country meaning America. There is not time to go into a discussion of those points today, but so far I can assure you that you will not find any other country where every living mother, as Sri Monier Williams says, quote, is venerated as a kind of deity by her children, where every village or city has its special guardian mother, called in Sanskrit Mata, and it is extremely difficult for a Western mind to grasp exactly what the Hindu means when they say that every woman is representative of the Divine Mother. A simple illustration will give you the idea of the respect the Hindus have for women. In Sanskrit, when two names are used together, the rule of grammar is that the more honorable should stand first. In Sanskrit, we say women and men, not men and women. Instead of father and mother, we say mother and father. Instead of husband and wife, we say wife and husband, because a woman is always more honorable than a man. In India, wives do not adopt their husband's name, and they do not merge their individuality into that of their husbands, as women do in the West. But they keep their own names separate. If a wife's name be Radha and her husband's name be Krishna, and if we say them together, we would say Radha Krishna, never Krishna Radha. The wife's name must be said first. So we say Sita Rama. Sita is the wife of Rama, and Rama is the husband. Again, when God incarnates in the form of a man, as in Krishna or Rama, the wife of such an incarnation is worshipped as the incarnation of the Divine Mother. The wife is worshipped first and then the husband. A Western mind does not easily appreciate the wonderful reverence for womanhood which the Hindus have. Except, of course, in Catholicism, you appeal to the Virgin Mary to get your prayers across to Jesus.
Yes.
And Ken Wilber points out that of all the major religions, Hindu is really the only one that's been able to retain the worship of both the Divine Mother and Divine Father aspects into one faith.
Swami, it doesn't matter a pin, but I can't find 119. So if I have it, I don't see it. And, oh, there it is. Thank you. I think I found it. No, 120 is my problem. Oh, okay. Now I'm back on course.
Yeah, I was at the top of 120 by that time.
All right. So we're talking about capital E energy. And this capital E energy, I think the way Swami Abhedananda has described it, cannot be mistaken for anything else but the energy that Einstein says is the very, the actuality of the universe. E equals mc squared, the capital E is the only thing in that equation that's capitalized, and India says that's mother. So, meaning the same energy, but the energy of the universe is from the inside seen as experience. So, do I start after Sita as the wife and Rama as the husband? Or do I
The
start
Divine
with
Mother.
Yeah, okay. So now we have a personification here of the energy. I think one can muse for a moment on the idea that if Ramananda says that the path of knowledge, that is to say, jnana, is seeking that knowledge is light, then we could assume that this energy, capital E, which is what the universe is made of, not matter, that's just congealed energy, and that energy seen from the inside is experience, that the experience could be seen as light. That is to say, the light which is seen is that subjective, one aspect at least of the subjective energy that we're speaking of here. So we have this whole concept of energy personalized. It's also possible that a person might experience it as light. So just as the Hindus give room for Ramakrishna and actually ask people, how do you think of God as being possible to experience and therefore entertain as personal or impersonal, you could take everything we've said so far and see this capital E energy, the relational aspect of an organic, living universe, as being also seen as light. Now, while we have personified it, let's go on that aspect of it for a while. The Divine Mother in capital letters, divine and mothers in capital letters, first letter, is the personal God in one aspect. The same as Ishvara in Sanskrit. Now, this is going to get a little bit iffy, but I think we can handle it. Ishvara in Sanskrit and the personal God with the capital P, or personal God with a capital G, is considered the sum of all subjectivity. It's kind of way down the ladder. The personal God comes in, as I say, quite a long time after creation. But nevertheless, whatever you want to talk, this is the sum total of all subjective consciousness. The ant, the beaver, everything. And yet, we've determined already that that consciousness in the illumined state can be seen as one consciousness. And when we feel that the consciousness in the other person is exactly the same as one's own consciousness, like the city limit. And this is not just, picking it out of the air. Swamiji said first we start off with thinking of oneself or something in one's mind, in quotes, then the family, then the city, then the county, then the country, and the world. That's what Vivekananda wants us to expand our consciousness into. It's done through spiritual awakening, spiritual experience. So this personal God aspect is also mother, and that's the combined subjective experience of all. And the Brahman, well, we can't let that thee go with Brahman. Sorry, everybody. We're trying to help. I don't know that it's requested or... Yeah, but I got red already, so why not stay with the color? Yeah. We're not quite sure why there's so many things here. I don't think that Swami himself added some of these constructs, but nevertheless, you see, Brahman's a personal noun. What do you call it? A noun, name, noun. And personal names like that don't have these on them. You don't say the Tom and Harry, it's just Harry. The Divine Mother is the personal God, the same as Ishvara in Sanskrit, and Brahman, or the absolute substance, capital S, or the universal spirit, is the impersonal being, B-I-N-G, capital. So Brahman and God absolute, and then God immanent is mother. The Brahman, oh, I'm so sorry, everybody, but this is quite exciting for us, those who love this sort of thing. Takes a certain kind of mind, I guess. The tiny little things. Brahman is formless, nameless, and without any attributes. That means things we can see in the external world as name and form. It is the ocean of absolute intelligence, existence, and bliss. Parenthesis, italic, Sat Chit Ananda. In parenthesis, it has no activity, because activity means attribute. It's changeless. Infinite and undivided, as our beloved John Dobson used to say. Brahman is attributeless. It is the Godhead I love it when he does this of Fichte, German philosopher, the substantia, Latin, of Spinoza, substance. These are mystically inclined, meaning experientially inclined Western philosophers. Just love it when he does this. It transcends all phenomena. Phenomena are just the sound and light show, the movie, name and form, moving. That's what phenomena are. And the phenomenal universe is unreal. It transcends all phenomena. Before phenomenal manifestation, divine energy rested on the bosom of that ocean of the absolute being, capital B, in a potential state. Kids, I don't know about you, but I kind of like to ask some people for fun, what about the poetry in your soul? Swami, Swami, Sarvapriyananda, right?
I don't know which one you're
No, I'm
referring
talking about
to.
the one Sarvapriyananda, Sarvapriyananda, who had lectures right in this room. The room still has the vibes. And when he gave this wonderful talk, as he will and will do, on these aspects, a lady asked him at the very end, and what about, I don't know the word she used, beauty, what about something like that? And right now, because this is a clip, he said the universe is the cosmic poem of God. So for those that one might ask, and what about the poetry in your soul? We have here a fascinating thing that Genesis says that there was the deep. The deep is the ocean. It's a symbol of infinity. And we had this last week. And the wind of the Spirit will play along the surface of the ocean. There's God creating the universe. But the deep is already there. Or maybe created yesterday and didn't tell nobody about it. And then what we understand as the first act of God in creating the universe says, let there be light, and there was light. But the ocean, it rests on this concept of fathomlessness. And you've got to admit that the ocean at night, in a calm state, you're on a little boat on top of it. Wow. In the dark. So here's the divine energy resting on the ocean of the absolute being in a potential state. It is the dormant state of activity. That's a beautiful concept. Even the snake, which is not real, that we the rope we mistake for a snake, but even a sleeping, very active energy form is dormant, very close to being like Brahman itself. And right around the corner, you just open the door here, right in front of us, a big Bodhi tree in the morning, you can see it. We're in the library now. Right around the corner, open the door, is a marvelous camellia. Wintertime's camellias, they're coming out now. And this one is a big puffy red one. It's so old that the camellia people are not quite sure what the name is they adopted. And believe it or not, camellias are dormant in the winter when they're blooming. So is there any more potentially powerful thing, that you could think of in the objective, than something which is sleeping, which is at the same time, upon being awakened, is a symbol of activity. This is, I'm shivering. I don't know about y'all. It hits me between the shoulder blades. It is a dormant state of activity, somewhat like our deep sleep state, when all activity is latent. As in deep sleep, susupti, S-U-P-T-I, that's a good new word, all the mental and physical powers exist in us in an unmanifested condition, and nothing is lost. So before the beginning of cosmic evolution, all the phenomenal forces of the universe remain dormant in that energy, capital E. It's a bit more than I want to try to wrap my mind around tonight. But the high points are just so clear. Swami, I'm going to give it back to you. Dormant in that energy, capital E. There were no phenomena.
There were no phenomena or no manifestation of any powers whatever. Again, as in our waking state, all the latent powers manifest, and we are able to walk, move, talk, and are tremendously active. So, when a portion of that impersonal being wakes up and manifests the latent cosmic powers out of the sleeping energy, evolution of the cosmic energy begins, and the impersonal being appears as the creator of the universe, and also as its preserver. Then the impersonal being is called personal on account of that manifested energy. According to the Hindus, that impersonal Brahman is neither masculine nor feminine, but the personal God is masculine and feminine both in one. Energy and being are inseparable as in the impersonal God.
In the personal God.
In the
brother.
personal God.
Could you just say that again? I want to think about it.
Energy and being are inseparable in the personal God.
And that's capital E and capital B.
As pure being without energy cannot produce any phenomenon, and as energy possesses all activity and is the mother of all forces and phenomena, so the personal God is most appropriately called the mother of the universe.
Half a second here, this small point. As pure being, capital B, without energy, cannot produce any phenomena. Incidentally, there's your Greek. You know, phenomena is plural, phenomenon is singular. And so the very fact of phenomena, plural, is appearance, but nevertheless, pure being can't do this. And as energy possesses all activity, and is the mother of all forces and phenomena, so the personal God is most appropriately called the
mother of the universe. As fire and its burning power or heat are inseparable, so being and energy are inseparable and one. Those who worship the masculine aspect of God in reality worship the male child born of that divine mother, because the activity, strength, and power which makes one masculine owe their origin to that divine energy. But those who worship the Divine Mother worship the whole, that is, worship all gods, all angels, and all spirits that exist in the universe.
I'm with you, but I'm catching up.
The wonderful effect.
Half a second, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
But those who worship the Divine Mother worship the whole, capital W. These are, all universal words. I.e., and that's id est in Latin, that is, worship all gods. Those who worship the Divine Mother worship the whole, capital W, i.e., worship all gods, all angels, and all spirits that exist in the universe. Yes, I'd like you to continue, if you will, Willie.
And we're getting close to the end
here.
here.
We are.
The wonderful effect of this conception of the motherhood of God is to be found in the daily life of almost every Hindu woman as well as man. A Hindu woman thinks that she is a part of the Divine Mother. Nay, she thinks that she is one with her, capital H. She looks at all men and women of the world as her own children. She thinks herself as the blessed mother of the world. How can such a woman be unkind to anybody? Her pure motherly love flows towards all men and women equally. There is no room for any impure thought or feeling or passion in such a heart. That perfect motherly feeling makes her ultimately live like the Divine Mother on earth.
Can you see that birth?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Her ideal God in human form is her own child. She worships the incarnation of God as her most beloved child. Just as Mary was the mother of Jesus, so the Hindu women in India often look upon themselves as the mother of Krishna, who is called the Hindu Christ, or of Rama, another incarnation. The Christian mothers, perhaps, will be able to appreciate this to a certain extent. If a Christian mother thinks that she is Christ's mother and loves him as she loves her own child, the effect will be wonderful. She will then understand what divine motherhood is. The Hindus think that this is the easiest way for women to attain to that love which makes one unselfish and divine. A mother can sacrifice everything for her child. She naturally loves the child without seeking any return. Though there are mothers who do not possess pure and unselfish motherly feelings and love. A true mother, however, loves her child almost above everything. If such a child is an incarnation of God himself, how easy it will be for the mother to attain to that highest goal of religion. I know a lady in India who became a widow when she was young. She did not marry again. She was not like the ordinary woman of the world who thinks that a husband is essential for her material happiness and that marriage is the highest ideal of life. She lived the pure life of a nun and worshipped Krishna as her own child. She became so advanced in spirituality that hundreds of educated men and women of high rank in Calcutta would come to see her and to take spiritual instruction from her. They used to kiss the dust of her feet as the devout Roman Catholics kiss the feet of the statue of Mary. She is now revered and called as the Mother of God, Mother of Krishna. She lived in a place near Calcutta. She could feel in herself the presence of the Blessed Mother of the universe. Well, that's probably enough for tonight.
Okay, just a second, if you will. I hope that this has been rewarding. And I don't quite know what words to use, but I hope that it's been, for some at least, significant. I hope that's the way it is. I feel that we have a very important concept of inwardness. And inwardness is the highest range of our ability to go through life. That's what meditation brings to us, the concept of experience in Vedanta. So I hope this has been eminent for some and for many of us tonight. God love you all.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Filled with Brahman are the things we see. Filled with Brahman are the things we see not. From out of Brahman floweth all that is. From Brahman all, yet is it still the same. Peace, peace, peace.
All right.